As a black, I was born in the segregated South during dangerous times. There were no civil rights for blacks, nor was there any enforced safety for persons of color. For example, my uncle, who was a minister, was dragged from his pulpit as he preached one evening and bullwhipped by Klansmen within an inch of his life.
Born in Hartwell, Georgia, Fannie Barnes was only 2 years old when her parents migrated to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. While the city promised opportunities that couldn't be found in the Deep South, they'd not left the racism and segregation behind.
And I was returning and decided I would stop at the 5 and dime store and get a lemonade. And as I went, I stood at the counter and stood at the counter and stood at the counter and stood at the counter, and everyone was being waited on but me. And an 8-year-old's not going to figure out anything like racism or what have you. So I stood and waited, and finally a waitress came over and said, "We don't serve blacks." And I turned around, and actually it rattled around in my head because I didn't know what she meant.
But despite living in a place and time where racism was a powerful force, Fannie didn't grow up seeing the world as black and white, something she credits to the remarkable spirit of her mother, Nobi.
And my mother lived love, and we all caught it.
At the age of 17, Fannie headed to the University of Pittsburgh, but distracted from her studies by her social life, she lost her scholarship. But Fannie had already met the love of her life. At the age of 19, she married Raymond Linder, a military man.
And his friends saw me out in the backyard. Then we didn't have dryers. We hung the clothes on the clothesline. And he came out. That was it. He fell.
The pair headed off around the world. Military life suited the Linders, who welcomed 2 sons, Raymond Terrence and Michael.
I would call the military life the most perfect form of government in the United States. Every single person there is away from home. Every single person there is dependent upon one another.
Fannie found that music crossed the barriers of language and culture, and in Germany, her career as a concert soprano blossomed.
Every song was the kind that reaches in and touches or heals.
During the 1960s, the family began to establish a home base in New York State, settling in Binghamton in 1970. After seeing her sons graduate from college, Fannie went back to school, getting a bachelor's degree at 48, a master's at 58, and a doctorate at 68. In the 1990s, Fannie began working as a psychotherapist.
I want a person well as soon as possible. I am not in it to make a living. Fortunately, I have a husband who can keep me in the manner to which I have grown accustomed.
Fannie was delighted to finally become a grandmother, welcoming Deandra, Cassandra, and Logan. She often made the 7-hour trip to Pittsburgh to visit with her sisters and brother. She also continued her involvement in the community. Fannie's spirit led her to become involved in a long list of organizations, helping to lead United Hospital Systems, the Roberson Museum, and the Hoyt Foundation.
In spite of such momentous flights in one's life, I was able to develop within me not hatred nor insecurity, but an overwhelming desire to achieve and to contribute to the betterment of any community in which I lived.
But Fannie's influence is greater than a list of achievements. It's her spirit and philosophy that make her so beloved.
Let me live my life by the side of the road and be a friend to men.